Nini everyone, Mary here again. Happy October. I cannot wait for Halloween, and the growing season's over. So I think things will probably slow down for me at least a little bit because I'm a master gardener with college extension, so I do a lot of volunteering during the growing season, and that's kind of wrapping up right now. So still like plants, so sticking with this, doing another thing with Kemetic plants and plants that the ancient Egyptians used. So I decided to do a double whammy since the ones I'm going to talk about are so, well, I guess connected would be a good one. So the first one's frankincense, and those are trees and shrubs that are in the genus Boswellia. There are about 4 species that produce true frankincense, the incense itself. The biggest is Boswellia sacra, obviously the sacra meaning sacred. These species are flowering trees and shrubs native to Asia and Africa. They're small trees. They only grow to about maybe 13 or 15 feet in height, and you have the greatest diversity in Africa and India currently. Boswellia sacra comes from Somalia and the Arabian Peninsula and grows in desert woodland on rocky limestone slopes and gullies, so that's a pretty specific habitat. They're dioecious and deciduous, so they lose their leaves, and the dioecious part means that they have both a male and a female plant. If you've ever seen flowers, a lot of them will have male and female parts to them in one flower. And that's not the case here. You have one tree that's actually female, having female parts and producing the fruit or seeds, and then you have separate plants, separate individuals with male parts that produce pollen. So it's, not as normal as what you would see with most plants. And Boswellia trees, they have compound leaves and the prettiest little yellowish white clusters of flowers, and papery bark too, so like a exfoliating bark. And the trees only produce resin at about 8 to 10 years old, so you do have to wait a bit of time before you can actually start harvesting from a tree. Myrrh comes from trees in the genus Comifera, which is in the same family as frankincense, which is Berceraceae, and it has the same range and habitat. The main species that is commonly used is Comifera myrrha, obviously the species named Myrrh for myrrh. It's much like frankincense, it's a spiny tree or shrub, and it grows up to about 13 feet. It has a succulent stem with exfoliating bark, and leaves between species can vary. Sometimes they're single, sometimes they're compound like the frankincense, and they have actually a small and inconspicuous flower. As most people know, the part of the tree that's commonly used is the resin, which is really solidified tree sap. People generally make cuts in the bark, and sap oozes out and then eventually dries. And humans come back and collect and make more cuts, and thus make more collections, and thus resin is produced. There are lots and lots of uses for myrrh and frankincense, and not just for incense, perfume and medicine, and it's still used into the modern day. I could go on with all the sorts of uses that I've come up with in my research, but what did the ancient Egyptians use it for? Well, not only did they use it as a incense to offer to a deity, its sweet scent, they also used it as a perfume every day. They infused it in oil and fats for their scent. It was a major component in embalming mummies, and even it was chewed as a gum to freshen people's breath. So You may even say that the ancient Egyptians invented gum. So we use frankincense and myrrh in a lot of these respects today, but frankincense is being overexploited. There's an excessive harvest within places like Somalia that eventually, it gets so bad that the trees can't even pollinate. They're so over harvested and stressed. And young trees aren't reaching maturity anymore, so not only is the current crop dying out, there are no trees to replace them. And there's also lots of issues with disease and change in land use, where the farmers who used to collect frankincense are now switching to other crops, and so that leaves less land for frankincense. And there are articles about saying we may lose the market for frankincense. So my point of advice, think before you use frankincense. I've tried looking to see if there are any kind of charities or conservation methods or conservation efforts for frankincense, and I haven't found any. But so the best I can really advise in this case is limit your use of frankincense. You may mix it with myrrh like I've done, or you may choose to use some other types of more sustainable resins as offerings to deities. So thank you, and Senebti.